This year has been absolutely crazy, going from diplomatic deadlocks to an entire nation being overthrown on Discord. So you're in for a ride, now buckle up for a deep dive into what has happened this year. Starting off with a bang in January, both the Ukraine-Russia and Israel-Palestine war came to a diplomatic deadlock when there were multiple different attempts at stopping the wars, which failed miserably. Now onto the Gaza-Israel conflict. Despite various peace talks over the years, there has been no solution that has lasted more than a few months. Another major event that happened in January is Trump's historic inauguration by being the first United States president to go into office twice with a break in between. This inauguration caused drama and tensions globally due to his links with well-known pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and ongoing legal issues, including being convicted of 34 felonies. People around the world have noticed that this year, ever since Donald Trump took power, it has almost been like a comedy drama series that you'd find on HBO Max. This is partly due to the TikToks that the White House themselves have posted, making literal HBO Max type trailers of immigration enforcement, better known by the people outside of America as kidnapping based on race. Finally, in January, governments started to tighten AI regulations for many reasons, but not limited to ethical concerns, job displacement, economical impact, and safety and security. Now let's move on to February. In February, the United Nations warned of worsening humanitarian issues in Gaza. A spokesperson said that after days with no humanitarian assistance entering Gaza, the conditions for civilians became more and more urgent, with reduced access to food, water and other vital services that were needed to survive. Now swiftly moving on to April, where climate protests were surging across the European cities. Across Europe, there were tens of thousands of activists that marched across Germany in cities like Berlin, Hamburg, Cologne and Munich that pressured the government to have stronger climate policies ahead of a key election in the country. Across Europe, there were youth and civil societies that organised many demonstrations that showed the contributing influence of organised activism across Europe. One major group is Fridays for Future, that is a leading youth movement for climate across Europa. Now into May, where the EU had even more drama. The 16th of May 2025 marked the first time the European political community was held in the Western Balkans. The summit's theme was New Europe in a New World. Unity, cooperation and joint action. Around 50 leaders across Europe participated, including heads of state and government from both the EU and non-EU countries, as well as representatives from key institutions. Some notable attendees included France, Germany, the UK, Turkey and Ukraine. The summit had a heavy theme on security and democratic resilience, economic competitiveness and youth empowerment. Now moving on to June, where NATO leaders met in The Hague to discuss pressing global security concerns. Their main topics was the Ukraine and Russian aggression, and how they could deter Russia. Global security concerns such as tensions rising in the Indo-Pacific region, mainly between China and the United States, particularly regarding Taiwan and maritime disputes in the South China Sea. They also talked about Sweden and Finland's membership, where by 2025 Sweden and Finland's integration into NATO was a major talking point. Furthermore, they talked about increasing their defence budgets and climate change as a security threat. Now on to July, where things only seem to go more and more downhill. In South Asian countries like India, Bangladesh and Pakistan, there were unprecedented rainfall that led to catastrophic flooding in India, Bangladesh and Pakistan, which caused millions of people to be displaced and injured. Reports from the OCHA state that more than 10 million people were affected due to the floods. Now on to August, where things got heated and fiery. During August, there were many wildfires that spread across Europe, Canada and Australia. The most extreme fires in Europe were across Spain, Portugal, Italy and Greece. In Canada, there were over 15,000 wildfires reported across the country. And finally in Australia, where fires spread across New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland. This sparked massive concerns about climate change, and scientists warned that Australia's fire seasons were becoming longer and more intensive with less predictability, which sparked even more protests around the world that were asking for the commitment to fighting climate change. Now on to September, which saw the first major government overthrow in years. In the September of 2025, Nepal experienced what is described as a dramatic political shift, as Gen Z activists organised overthrowing the government over a Discord server, even making its own temporary parliament on a Discord stage, and the new leader was even elected on Discord. Everyone that was in the Discord server and was a citizen of Nepal were considered MPs and had a say in exactly what was going to happen. The government was overthrown because the youth were frustrated with corruption, lack of progress, and mass censorship, including the outright ban on social media. Their Discord server had helplines, community areas, stages, and places for people to report wrongdoers, so after the government was overthrown, the bad eggs could face the appropriate action against them. What do you think about this? And is platforms like Discord the future of running countries? Let us know in the comments below. Now on to October, where European governments were seeing even more protests, but this time it was for something different. There were major protests in Italy, Spain and Greece. Right-wing populist parties called for stricter immigration controls, border closures, and even some political parties like Reform UK led by Nigel Farage calling for a UK version of ICE, saying that we should quote-unquote detain and deport absolutely anyone, end quote, that comes into the country, following on with quote-unquote, the boats will stop coming within days, end quote. In November, Interpol launched a global operation that led to the rescue of thousands of trafficked animals across multiple continents. The operation targeted illegal wildlife trafficking networks, which were also closely tied with organised crime. Interpol executed the operations in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and even parts of Europe. They rescued thousands of endangered species, including but not limited to pangolins, tigers, rhinos, and various other primates. This operation was one of the most successful international efforts to stop wildlife crimes that the world has ever seen. Finally, on to December.
A 10-year-old girl is among those murdered as a traumatised community pays tributes to the lives lost.
In December, there was a deadly anti-Semitic attack on Bondi Beach that shocked not only the Jews, not only Australians, but everyone around the world. The incident unfolded when a group of people that had been believed to be motivated by anti-Semitic beliefs launched an assault against Jewish people celebrating Hanukkah. This year has been a rollercoaster of emotions, politics, and a series of tragic events. I wish I could have reported on more good news like last year. However, I think we can all agree on one thing. 2025 will go down in history as one of the worst years of the modern age. Here's to a better 2026 with less tragedies and more good news.